Hello and welcome to my new video. Today I am going to demonstrate how to correctly assemble a PC from scratch. I have all the needed parts ready right here, and a clean and clear table ready too, as well as good lighting conditions. Oh, and before we get started, let's touch something made out of metal to discharge static electricity from our body to prevent electrostatic discharge damage. And it would be good practice to touch metal stuff during the process, especially while handling the motherboard. So step 1 is to take your motherboard out. After it's done, firstly we will be installing the CPU, so let's lift the CPU socket lever. And pay attention to where the small triangle points, as we will be aligning our CPU based on that triangle. Here is the CPU unpacked. We can see the small triangle on the CPU too. Now let's take the CPU out of the box. Hold edges only, match it with the triangle on the socket, and gently place the CPU in. Make sure to not push hard, it should drop in easily. Then all that is left is to lower the lever. Okay, now it's time for the memory. We'll be placing them in the second and the fourth slot from the CPU, which are also called A2 and B2 slots. This is done for optimal performance and stability, as this configuration ensures each stick operates on its own memory channel for maximum bandwidth. Before inserting the RAM, make sure to open the clips on those slots, as I just did, and then just push each RAM in. Push them firmly until you hear a click. If it feels scary to push, that's normal. Just press evenly. Make sure the both sticks are fully seated after you're done, and now we can move on to the SSD. To install the SSD, first we need to find the M.2 slot. Also make sure to have a screw ready, which comes with your SSD. Insert SSD at approximately 30-degree angle. Then take the screw, push the SSD down flat, and screw it in. Don't tighten too much, just make sure the SSD sits tight and flat. Now it's time for the CPU cooler. First thing is to determine if we have thermal paste already pre-applied on the cooler or not. If not, you'll have to get some thermal paste and apply some on your CPU manually. I already have thermal paste pre-applied on my cooler. Before we continue, we need to remove the plastic brackets around the CPU. Just unscrew them and remove them. But make sure to keep the backplate in place, as it is a needed component and it must not fall off. After removing the plastic brackets, get the mounting bar and standoffs, which come with your CPU. There will be different types of them for different types of CPUs. Since I am using AM4 socket CPU, these are the parts I need. Make sure to read the manual of your CPU to determine which are the right parts for your build. Now mount everything in place, screw it all in with the included screws, and finally we can place the CPU cooler in place. And one more important thing, make sure your fan will actually be blowing out the air through the back. So in my case, I place my Deepcool AK400 CPU cooler model facing the memory, which is the front air intake direction. Now it's time to screw in the cooler, but before that, let's remove the fan, so we'll have plenty of space to get the front screw. After you're done with the screws, just put the fan back as it was. Now for the last step regarding the CPU cooler. Plug fan cable into CPU fan header. It is usually located at the top of your motherboard. And after it's done, let's take the case and place the motherboard inside. I removed both panels of my case before placing it on the table. Now inside the case you'll see small metal pins, aka standoffs. They should match holes on your motherboard when placing it. But before that, let's install the I/O shield. Unpack it and just snap it into the back of the case. Push firmly on all corners until it clicks. Now let's place the motherboard in. Carefully lower it into the case by holding the edges or by the cooler, as I did. You should get a feeling when the motherboard is aligned with the standoffs. Another great indicator that your motherboard was aligned correctly is by checking the I/O shield so that all ports line up properly. And finally, install the screws so your motherboard will hold in firmly. I just did that, and it is sitting nice and tight within the case. Now let's move on to the PSU. Before installing it, make sure the fan is facing down. Then just slide PSU into the bottom of the case. Now we have to secure it with 4 screws. Make sure the PSU aligns perfectly with the holes. Okay, the PSU has been successfully installed. Now let's plug in our first cable, the 24-pin motherboard cable, the big one. Plug into the right side of the motherboard. Push firmly until it clicks. Now, locate the CPU power cable, the 8-pin. In my case, it goes to top left of the motherboard. Sometimes it is labeled as CPU or EPS. By the way, I decided to insert the cable through the upper cutout so the cable wouldn't block the airflow within my case. Now it's time for the probably most satisfying part, the GPU. We'll be installing it to the top PCIe slot, which is closest to CPU. But before that, let's remove 2, sometimes 3, expansion slot covers from the case, which are the metal covers at the back. In my case, I only have to remove 2. Okay, I've inserted the GPU. Make sure you hear a click, as that's the indication that the GPU was correctly put in. Also, make sure to secure your GPU with the screws, which you removed before from the metal covers. Now what's left is to connect the PCIe cables. My GPU needs 2 of them, 8-pin connectors. They should click after successfully placing them in. Now it's time for the trickiest part, connecting the front panel cables. These are small cables from your case. They control the power button and reset button, and there are cables for audio and USBs. I suggest looking at the manual of your motherboard to identify the correct way to connect these small front panel cables. As for the audio and USB, it's pretty straightforward. Also, don't forget about the airflow while doing this. I pushed the audio cable through the bottom cutout. And now finally the last part, the case fans. The headers for the case fans should be labeled with SYS fan or CHA fan. And that's it. All that's left is to reattach the sides of your case, and you're good to go. As you can see, I am already installing Windows on my freshly built PC. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe for more useful content like this. And don't stop here. Make sure to watch my next video of how to create a fully working Windows USB installer.